Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
Innovative Thinkers, episode number 256, Innovative Thinkers. Our guests have sent us so much swag, books, and giveaways this year. I can't wait to announce our monthly winner. So if you want exclusive content delivered right to your inbox and to enter into our monthly drawing, go to drfrancesrichards.com and subscribe to our mailing list. That's drfrancesrichards.com. drfrancesrichards.com. That's drfrancesrichards.com and subscribe to our mailing list. We promise we will not spam you or sell your information. Thank you for joining us as we elevate the Black entrepreneur experience by interviewing CEOs, thought leaders, innovative thinkers, and Black entrepreneurs across the globe. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards, proven sales and digital marketing expert, president of the Windstream Black Professionals Network, and living proof that there is professional life after the NFL. Welcome, Lorenzo Clark.
Hi, Dr. Richards. Thanks for having me today.
I've given our audience such a brief bio. Why don't you fill in the gaps and share with us what you'd like them to know about you and your business?
Sure, absolutely. So a couple of things. One is I just recently sold a business, my own personal business. It's a fantasy sports management company called Front Row Fantasy Sports. And it was actually born from one of my partners. Fantasy sports it's huge. You know, it's $1 billion industry. And after I stopped playing in the NFL, I kind of fell out of love with the game for a while. And then fantasy sports really brought me back into the game. So I've been playing that for a while. And then we were talking about all the leagues that he plays in, and he missed a couple of leagues because he wasn't able to make all his changes with his teams, because it's a combination of being like a GM and an owner at the same time. So that's why it's so prominent in the competition, of course. So then we were talking about it, and we came up with this concept, and we said, why not do it? So it seemed daunting at the time because you have to get ESPN and Yahoo and the NFL on board. And, when I mentioned that, he was like, us too? We're going to get all these entities involved. And I was like, why not? How many people do that? Like, why not? So, it took us, a year and a half to do it, but we did it, and we had that running for 5 years, and most recently sold that to a German VC. So that was fun. And then, I had an opportunity to come over to Kinetic by Windstream. I was just at the house being bored, and my wife ran me out the house. She said, "You got to go." So I said, I'm going to reach out to my network, and I joined Connect by Windstream, and I lead, all of their sales, inside sales, and they needed what I had, and I had what they needed what I had, So it worked out very well from that perspective. It has been working out very well. It gives us a lot of freedom to be able to not only do business, but make impact in the community. And that's really why I really love what I do with this, my current role with this job.
So Lorenzo, talk about professional football, transitioning into business owner, transitioning into working for someone.
It's not as difficult as one would think. A lot of the characteristics that made me successful in that arena, and I wasn't one of those chosen ones, like, some people who are in high school and it's just like they're chosen, they're destined to be in the NFL. That wasn't me. That wasn't me by any means whatsoever. I just got lucky. I was in the right place at the right time. And those characteristics, that competitiveness, the overcoming hurdles and challenges, and that mental toughness really helped me transition into business as a whole, as an industry. And then I think the entrepreneurship, it came from within, always wanting to own your own, always wanted to set example. I have 2 younger brothers and 2 younger sisters. So and I'm the oldest. So I've always wanted to be the one who was setting an example for them, because there's so many other negative examples out there for them to follow. So I've always tried to be that person that they could follow to kind of help them stay away from all that negativity that's out there. So that transitioned into, hey, you know how to perform in this and one of the most prominent brands, in the world, right? So they train you for that. Dr. Richards, they train you for that. So I said, why not use the training that I received and strengthen my transition to the business world? They teach you how to familiarize with who you're speaking with at what times. They teach you all those things. So all those things transitioned with me as I made my transition throughout the careers. And I'm so thankful for it. I'm very thankful for it, because a lot of them, we'd sit in the NFL symposium and I'm taking notes and just soaking everything up. You see people sleeping, you see people just not paying attention. And, a lot of those were the destined ones, but I really understood that I wasn't destined to be there. So I just wanted to take advantage of every opportunity that I had. And that's really helped me throughout my entire career, the things I learned there.
Let's talk about the business, fantasy football, and all the hurdles that you had to climb to make that happen. Talk about that aha moment.
I think the aha moment may have come when I had a conversation with George Lamer. Was the president of ESPN in fantasy sports. And I think the aha moment for me came within my own network. For us as Black entrepreneurs, we have to use your own networks, use every advantage that you have to level the playing field, because I'm a realist, and we all know that the playing field is not level. It's not level as it pertains to funding. It's not level as it pertains to your networks and your connections. It's just not level. So I was fortunate enough to be able to have a network that I could, number one, get an investor, and number two, leverage the network to meet the people that I needed to meet. And I think that for me was instrumental to getting it done, because like I said, when you sit down and we did the business plan, which has taken 150 iterations to get it to where it ended up. But we took our business plan, and once we really looked at it from a macro level, we both kind of just sat there looking at each other like, how the heck are we going to do this? How the heck are we going to get in front of Yahoo? And how the heck are we going to get in front of ESPN and NFL and my fantasy league? And it was just, wow. So then we just started to make our roadmap of who we needed to speak with, who runs those, and then do we have any paths to get there? So lots of doors closed, lots of doors couldn't even open because they were just too high. So at the time I was with a company called Red Ventures, and we had a large network there through the CEO, and I got an opportunity to play with I played basketball with them, with one of the coaches that he was an analyst for ESPN, so I kind of asked him, hey, do you have any connections I need to get to this guy? And he said, hey, you know what? Yeah, let me get you in contact with so-and-so. And the person he got in contact with was like a senior writer at ESPN. Like, I read his column all the time. So, he's calling. I'm like, are you serious? So I answered the phone. It was him. And we talked, nicest guy in the world. And he's like, yeah, I get in contact with, who you need to get in contact with, blah, blah. So like, awesome. So after that call, I called Coach. I was like, Coach, I said, just get me in contact with somebody, not this dude. He was like, hey, they're just people, man. And I think part of that was, I think the aha moment that you mentioned may have been that phone call when he told me, you know what, they just have a different platform than you have, but people are people, regardless, people are people, and that's when I sort of started looking at things differently and just kind of saying, hey, you know what, we can do this. We can do this, just because we don't have the name, or we don't have the backing, or we don't have these other things, but that's not going to stop us. That's not going to deter us from making this happen and overcoming the hurdles and the challenges that we knew were going to come. Like, we knew this was going to come, but it's just pushing each other to get past it, So I think that might have been the aha moment, that conversation when he told me, hey, you know what, regardless, people are just people, they put on their pants just like you. And we've heard those things, but when you're in that scenario, bringing all that stuff from the past to the present and using it to fuel you to go further, that was that moment for me.
Lorenzo, you're dropping some value bombs. Talk about that mindset.
I think I've often been conflicted about if it's learned or an innate behavior. For me, I think I was very fortunate. My parents, man, God bless them. They just instilled into all of us just that you can't lose. Like we came from very humble beginnings, not too rich is what I like to call it. We were economically challenged, but even though we were, they just always used to tell us, do not let that be a product. You're not a product of your environment. You're not. And I wrote a blog. It might have been last year. Doing the year before. Yeah, it was last year. And it was just talking about my plight. And when I finished the blog, it was like, I've never done a blog before. So I researched a blog that was just like, get in front of the computer and just brain dump. So that's what I did. I just brain dumped. And when I was finished, I was in tears. I think I was in tears not because of my own plight. Like I wasn't in tears because of that. I was in tears because of all the people that helped me along the way ended up in that blog. And primarily, my parents. My mother, she had me when she was very young. Yet she still graduated, in the top 10% of her class. She went to the military and met my stepfather, who I call my father. He's my father. I took the step out a long time ago. And they both got on the GI Bill and went and got electronic degrees to make themselves, give us a better life. And just to see their ascension through life and to have them instill all that into us, it just really made me become the person that I am today. And I think all of those things, the combination of all of those things gave me a strong foundation to be able to overcome all the things that I was able to overcome throughout my entire life. And a lot of people don't have that, but yet my partner in the business, he had a different experience, but he still had that mindset. So I think it's all introspective within ourselves. And I think it's a combination of having an innate drive, but also what you learn throughout your life and who you learn those things from. Because even if you're in a bad situation, you can learn still things. What I tell my folks all the time is like, look, you might get a bad luck of the draw and get a bad leader, but you can still learn from that leader because you can learn what not to do. And you can have that incorporate into your leadership style, and it just makes you a stronger person. So take all those experiences and you store them. Just don't write them off as experiences. Oh, it just happened to me. Sometimes you sit down and you analyze why it happened, and then that way that makes you stronger. So I think within all of my entire career, all those experiences started with my parents' foundation. Big shout out to them. I love them to death. And then they gave me the foundation, and I build upon that my entire life.
Lorenzo, I want you to have a monologue. You're going to pick a person that you're talking to, living or not living. You're going to name that person, and they've impacted your life so much that you want to say this to them. Who is that person, and what are you saying to them?
That person is my grandmother, Lorenzo Clark. And when my mother she joined the Army. She graduated high school. She joined the Army, and they sent her to Germany. And so, of course, I had to stay with my grandmother and my grandfather. And she just made such an impact on my entire life. And I can't thank her enough. I don't know if I ever thought to thank her enough. So Big Ma, I miss you. Thank you for all those life lessons that I've been able to teach my son. Because without that, I don't know where I would be. We were in Bessemer, Alabama, in a 546 square foot house for really in the projects. And I don't know what you made every 2 weeks, but you made it happen. I never felt like we went without. And I don't know how you did it. I know women have been doing it forever, but to see how you did it, I'm still in awe today. 40 some odd years later, you still make an impact on my life, but you're making impact on my kid's life. And some of those things that you passed on to me through the years, I've been able to really interpret what you meant, because although you didn't have a formal education past 8th grade, all those stories that you told me about escaping the plantation in Mississippi and coming to Birmingham, and you told me that. I didn't see that in a biopic. I didn't see that in a documentary. You told me that. And to hear it firsthand from your mouth, I really didn't appreciate it until I got older in life. But now I appreciate it every single day. And I miss you every single day. So thank you for everything that you have given me, because without that, I wouldn't be the man that I am today.
Wow. Thank you, Lorenzo, for being so authentic. And I felt that from the heart.
Thank you, Dr. Richards.
Talk about legacy. When it's all said and done, how do you want to be remembered?
I think when it's all said and done, I want to be remembered as someone who made an impact. An impact, number one, on the people I love, the people, the family that I have, but also for the people who don't know me, and just someone who really cares about their community, because I love Black people. I love them, and I think you always have to give it forward. My father used to always say, just don't be greedy. Pay it forward when you can, because those blessings will come back to you threefold. And I think he was right. I'm so fortunate to be where I am today and to be able to enjoy the liberties that I have today. Still not lost on the fact that to some people it still doesn't matter, but very appreciative of that portion of it. And, I had an interesting conversation with my son a couple of weeks ago, and he asked me a very odd question. And he said, Pop, man, how many people you think would be at your funeral if you died tomorrow? I said, well, first of all, I don't need no Dateline situations going on. So that's where is this question coming from? And he was like, it's just a conversation that I had, with some guys at work. And I think surrounding impact, I think that's where he was going with it. It's just like, how many people have you impacted? And I said, honestly, I don't know. And he said, Pop, I think you probably would have like 500-600 people. But that's what I mean. Like, I'm being so emotional today. I haven't spoken about a lot of this stuff. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it, Dr. Richards. And that's the legacy that I want to leave is, someone who makes people smile when they talk about you. Even when you're gone, you make people smile. I mean, that's the legacy I love to leave.
What problem exists in the world today that you would like to solve?
Ooh, I probably would say social injustice, and not just because it got escalated and elevated and publicized last year with Breonna Taylor and George Floyd incident, but it's two of hundreds. But I think if I could solve that problem, it would just solve so many problems for us in the Black community, and particularly Black men. I don't want to be biased, but when you look at the numbers don't lie. The data shows it. So I think if I could solve any issue in the world today, it would be social injustice followed by systemic racism, because that it permeates, it's permeated throughout the years, and it's generational, and making that change, that generational change, it may take generations. But if I could change it tomorrow and make it better for everyone, I just don't think it's just not just the Black community and us. I think if we change that, if we're able to change that, or if I could change that, it'd be better for everyone, every race, every gender. It would be just more harmonious. And I think that would be better for everyone.
Lorenzo, there are so many brands and businesses that are dominating. Talk about a brand or business that's dominating that you admire and why.
I would say, it seems very cliche, but I would say Amazon. I would say Amazon only because, not just because it's the e-commerce behemoth, it's because of the innovation piece of it. He was able to see way back when, and taking books to just every single e-commerce industry in the world. But when you get to that level, there's so much in logistics alone that you have to solve for. I don't think people really understand or realize that, because it's easy. We're on the user end, right? So our UI is you go to Amazon, you pick what you want, you hit the button, you pay for it, you're done. But there's so much stuff that happens in the back end of that. It's incredible just to be able to see it and understand it. I was able to do that a couple of years ago, and it's astounding. And then I would say 1A, I would say Johnson & Johnson, just because of the longevity. You have to appreciate longevity. To be able to be in business that long, it's incredible. And I applaud those businesses that have been able to sustain through all the ebbs and flows of spending in America and life and just history. It's incredible. So I would say probably those two stick out to me.
You talked about having a tour through Amazon and their operations. Drop a value bomb. What is a takeaway?
I think a takeaway is what I took away from that experience was you can always find a way. No matter how daunting the task is, you can always find a way. And what I didn't know is that they brought in 8, 10 subject matter experts from around the world to create their roadmap for the logistics that they use today in that back-end operation. So I think another thing that I took away from that is you won't have all the answers. Right? I've been in this game for a long time, and you have to be able to receive feedback and to bring the right people together and sit down and brainstorm and whiteboard. I don't know how many businesses today have just come from ideas where someone just sat down and got together with other people and you whiteboard it, because collectively 7 minds is better than one, just, even the most brilliant mind, so for them to be at the point to where they say, hey, you know what, look, we don't have all the answers. Let's go and bring some of the top minds from across the world to sit down and help us figure this out. That's the reason why, another reason why that company and that brand is so well known across the world, because they knew they didn't have all the answers. So they went out and helped other people to help fill in the gaps and create a strong back-end logistics process that they're benefiting from today. We all are benefiting from that. Just can't say them, we all are benefiting from it.
Speaking of answers, what advice you wish you had followed?
Advice I wish I had followed, because I've gotten so much, so much over the years. I'm one of those people, I'm not afraid to ask. I'm not afraid to ask people, like, how did you get to where you are today? And for people who want to share, I've never, knock on wood, I've never had anyone say, I want to share that with you. Most of the time, the number one thing people want to talk about is themselves. So it's okay to ask people, where they are today. But I think the advice that I didn't follow was I had a life decision point in 2000 where I had an opportunity to go out to California to start up this was Sprint, a call center out with Sprint. I didn't take that job because, my son was in North Carolina and I wanted to stay close to him. The person that ended up taking that job ended up ascending through the ranks in Sprint. And I mean, he's in a very prominent position there. So it's like, that could have been me, but when you look at it in totality and where I ended up, I always go back to saying, you know what, I didn't do too bad. I didn't do too bad.
Talk about the worst moment in business and what was your takeaway?
I think the worst moment in business for me was with my fantasy company. We took on a couple of investors and we were just so happy to get investors because anybody, who's Black in ownership, you understand, like, the network sometimes just doesn't support people with that much dispensable income or investment income to be able to invest in your company. And we're very fortunate to get 2 investors. A year and a half in to us starting the business, one of my investors, not the principal, but one of my investors came to me and said, hey, look, I'm going to have to bow out because I am under investigation for some investment fraud or something crazy like that. So I think that decision to not vet our investors because we were just that happy that people wanted to take this journey with us taught me to go forward to always vet, no matter what, no matter who they are, you vet them out. It doesn't matter. If Barack came to me and said, look, I want to invest, I'm like, look, I'm gonna have to vet you out. No, I don't have to vet out the ex-president or president, but I'll still just put on the show. Like, I gotta vet you out, Barack. I don't know. I'm just have to, but you can't overlook anything. And I think that was a hard lesson for us to learn was you don't overlook anyone. Just because you have $1 million in the bank, you need to investigate how they got that $1 million, just to make sure everything's legit.
Talk about that moment that you decided to sell and why.
I think for us, it was, there's so much change that was happening at the same time. Our platform was a simplistic platform, and I don't want to overplay that word because the operation was complex, but we wanted to make sure that our user experience was simplistic, because there's something to be said about simplicity. Take Cash App, for example. Anybody who uses Cash App, it's like, man, that's the most simple app in the world. You hit three buttons, you hit this button, and you're done. But that's why it's so used. The utilization is so high and it had so many users. It's because of the simplicity. So we were actually Cash App before Cash App. Like, it was just, we want to make it simple. So when the government said, hey, you can have sports betting or wagering, can't use the word bet, wagering in the United States, then we say, okay, we're going to miss out on that revenue stream. So now we have to go back and we have to recreate our platform to be able to support sports wagering. So we thought holistically, yeah. And then they said, okay, you can do it now. However, it's by state. So now there's another iteration that you have to make sure that your platform supports it's by state, because every state is different. And then not every state is not on board yet. So it just got so complex. And then the cost started to mount up, right? And then you start to evaluate, hey, look, what's the ROI and where we are right now? Upon completion, here are the projections for a 5-year projection. And then you have to weigh the options. So that's what we did. We weighed the options. And we have been talking to this German VC for about a year now, and they've been pushing, and like we were doing. And, they came up with an offer, and the offer that they came up with was too good to pass up. It was too good to pass up. So we just decided, hey, you know what? It's time, because we still had probably another year of build, to support, and everything was changing while we were building. So we would set a roadmap to build, and then something else would happen. It would change. So then we had to go back and reiterate on that change. And then it just kept compounding. And we would just kind of say, you know what? I think maybe someone with a larger platform and a larger budget might be able to really take this and make it into what we want to make it into. But for us right now, it's offers on the table. It's too good to pass up. So it was a tough decision, because it was, that's our baby, that's our baby. And they agreed to a lot of the things that we kind of wanted to take forward. And they tried to bring us on, actually. They'd say, hey, look, we'd like for you guys to come on. And at the time, I had this conversation with Kinetic. So I was like, nah, I can't do that. You only have so much time within a day, and I wouldn't want to do you guys injustice, and not doing that. Plus there's a time difference. So I can't be working at 3 o'clock in the morning. My wife will kill me, so we just decided to, just to cut it and figure out some money, and everybody's good, and move forward.
Speaking of your wife, talk about love, family, marriage, and business.
That's it. It's all cyclical. To me, it's all intertwined, because between her and my son, and my dog Remy, now I'm a dog person. I never thought I'd say that, but yeah, I am. Sometimes it's hard. Life happens to everybody. Life happens to all of us. And you have to find that motivation to be able to get through it. And they are my innovation to get through it. I mean, my motivation to get through it. Setting an example, for my brothers and sisters is motivation to get through it. Being able to help my parents is motivation to get through it. When you have people who are counting on you, I look at myself as, I can't afford to let life happen to me. Although it's going to happen, I can't allow it to negatively affect me. And to have her in my corner, no matter what, it's a blessing. It's a real blessing to be able to have someone who, they're going to back your play, and the support is so smart. A lot of the stuff that the successes that I've had have been through conversations that we've had on walks, or conversations that, hey, let me run this by you and tell me what you think, especially from the sales perspective, because she's one of those people that she's not going to buy anything, right? Which is totally opposite of more like both women, but she's not going to buy anything. So, I know if she says, you know what, I might stay on the phone for that, then I would take it back to my team and say, look, we need to go down this path, because she is the 10% that we don't sell to, right? And you sell to the majority, so, a lot of those talks, those experiences, I keep everything intertwined, because I think everything can be used. I think every moment can be a teachable moment as long as you don't err on the side of over-analyzation, because you can do that as well. But I think just the love and the family, it just helps you get through life, and I feel so bad for people who don't have that support and don't have that drive and motivation. But, even if you don't, you find other things to substitute for that. For me, I've just been very fortunate, very blessed to have, a strong family, strong sense of family, to be able to draw from when you need it.
Talk about the most memorable moment in life or business.
I think the most memorable moment for me in life probably is when my son was born, November 5th in 1996. That's a day that life gives us inflection points. And I think that was one for me because I became more serious about life. I heard the stories, about when you have a child that's going to change your life and and at the time, I think I was like 24. So it's a shoulder shrug. It's like, this boy, and we're going to play football, we're going to do all this other stuff. And when he came, and it just gave me another reason, the primary reason to go out and succeed, because I was coasting at that point. To be honest with you, Dr. Richard, I was coasting, and he made me want to take it to another level. It was time to level up, and in that moment is when I decided to level up.
Lorenzo, the word is listening. What is that resounding sound or the message that your generation is saying that we should be listening to?
That's a great question. I think we should be, I don't want to get too philosophical, but I think we all should be listening to the political noise that we made last year. I think for me, I follow Dr. King a lot, and it just puts me into the mind of what he went through and what they went through on that plight. And the noise sounded the same to me. It really sounded the same. Like the noise we made last year with our social justice movement and the police brutality, the noise we made then sounded like the same noise that my parents made in the 60s. And it's just, I think we need to remember those differences, because the noise that they made back then, it made a difference. It got us the Civil Rights Act. It got us a lot of the freedoms that we have today. We're by far nowhere near where we need to be, but that's progress. So I would love for us to really hear that noise that we made last year and continue that noise going forward, because that could be the noise that gets us closer to being equal. It could get us closer. It could.
Give, get. What do you want to give, and what do you want to get?
I want to give inspiration. I want to get respect.
Give us some inspiration.
My grandmother, a lot of this stuff always comes back to her. I really couldn't understand this moniker pretty much that she used to tell me until I was later on in life. But she said, and it permeates, so she got it from somewhere else. So it's not like she made this up. But she said, life is going to give you lemons, make lemonade. And it seems simplistic in the delivery, but it's so true. You're going to have ebbs in life. Figuring out how to make them work for you. I think that if we all just remember that, and because when they happen, it's going to get you down, but sit down, figure out how to make it a positive and make it lemonade.
What is something that you dream about often that you have not done that you want to do?
I think, I often dream about traveling around the world. And I think I definitely haven't done that. We've traveled, but not to some of the more exotic places. Like, we want to go to Australia, we want to go to Thailand, we want to go to Fiji, we want to do all those things. We want to go to South Africa. Like, we want to do a lot of different things. So, and I often dream about that. I think I would say that, and working hard to get myself in the situation to be able to do that, and that's from a monetary perspective. Yeah, I can do it, but just from a time perspective. Like you just want to take a month or 2 months and just go and just hit all these different places. I think I'm going to put that one on the bucket list. Dr. Richards, I got to put that one on the bucket list.
What can we do right now to support the company that you're working for, Kinetics?
And I would say pass the word on our Black Business Support Fund. Small businesses, they're the heartbeat of the community. And without support and access to capital, these businesses are in serious danger. And, Black businesses, as we know, face more challenges due to reduced opportunities to secure funding. And in a typical year, Black owners are rejected for loans 2.5 times that of Caucasian owners. So we wanted to make sure that with this company as Kinetic, we're doing our part to stabilize an important economic sector in our communities that we serve. And a lot of these communities are underserved, so we will pay for a year, as long as you're within our footprint and you have our service. We want to pay for the service, the internet service, for a year. And you can get $5,000, in grant to be able to sustain your business. We're still in midst of COVID, not out of it yet, but there's still a lot of businesses who are barely hanging on. So, pass the word, if they go to our site, it's business.windstream.com/BBSF and hashtag. I say hashtags because of my son. It was a pound sign before it was hashtag. So either one. But you can go there. All the eligibility criteria is there. It's open. It's open for people to use because we know how important it is to get funding.
And we'll also put the links in the show notes for others that if they're driving or whatever and they can't remember, we will also have that information in the show notes.
That's awesome.
Lorenzo, if you conducted this interview, what is the one question you would have asked yourself? I want you to ask the question and answer it.
The one question I would ask myself, wow, that's a great question, Dr. Richards. I think I'll probably ask myself, what impact do you want to make on the world? And I would probably answer just by saying, I'd love to make a difference. I'm trying to make a difference in any capacity that I can, but I would love to make an impact on the world because that's what we need. We need more people to want to make an impact on the world. I think that's the difference. Is a lot of us are self-serving. We want to do things for us, but then when that permeates throughout your life, then you make the decisions. We're good. Now let's do something else. Now let's extend it. Let's expand it. And I think that's what I would love to do. I'd love to be able to make an impact on the world. Like everyone can't be Barack, and be president and make an impact on the world from that perspective. So just to figure out how we can and we can pull the right people in together. Doesn't have to be just me. I can be part of a coalition of people that make impact on the world. But I think that would be something that would be, when we talked about legacy before, do something positive like that, to leave a legacy like that. That's the ultimate, because generations of generations will know who Barack Obama is and show him that respect.
We've come to the part of our interview. It's called Fun Facts Lightning Round. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I want you to give me very quick answers. If there's something you desire not to answer, feel free to say pass. Are you ready for the Fun Facts Lightning Round?
I am.
The last movie you saw?
Ooh, The Little Things with Denzel.
Your favorite color?
Favorite color is gray.
Your first job?
My first job was at Pizza Hut.
You relax doing what?
I relax watching movies, 2-hour escape.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
Ooh, I would have to go with Bob Marley.
Your favorite dance song?
Favorite dance song, Cuba Shuffle, just because everybody loves to do it.
What food you eat every week, no matter what?
Eggs. Eggs need the protein.
Your favorite month?
My favorite month is December and holidays, Christmas.
Work out or hit the couch?
Work out. Here, now, recently.
Lorenzo, thank you so much for spending time with us on Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast. Before we let you go, why don't you leave your social media handles and the best way for individuals to reach out to you and to do business with Kinetics?
Absolutely. So I would say you can reach out to me on my LinkedIn, Lorenzo Clark. Please check out our Black Business Fund. I know you place it where people can see it, but it's business.windstream.com/BBSF hashtag. And I really don't do social media too much, but I still have my Front Row Fantasy Sports handle on Twitter and Facebook. And Dr. Richards, before I go, I want to thank you, for providing a platform for people like us to come in and commiserate with each other and learn from each other and share successes and share failures too, and without platforms like this, a lot of us wouldn't survive if we wouldn't have education, because we don't get the opportunity to get the education like other people do. So thank you for providing a platform for us to be able to succeed. That means a lot.
And thank you for being a part of the B Podcast family. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
That's a wrap.
Awesome.
Subscribe to our mailing list to receive weekly updates and exclusive content delivered right to your inbox. Go to drfrancisrichards.com. That's drfrancisrichards.com to subscribe to our mailing list and be entered into our monthly drawing. That's drfrancisrichards.com, drfrancisrichards.com to subscribe to our mailing list and be entered into our monthly drawing. We promise we won't spam you or sell your information.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.